present a group to you that's got an album coming out on Casablanca, a new label. Here tonight, you're right on top of them. Put your two lips together, ladies and gentlemen. Kiss!
In 1973, Kiss began to make a name for themselves based on their live performances. Although they did not yet have their elaborate stage show, Gene had not yet learned to breathe fire or spit blood. What they did have was belief, desire, and the ability to put on a high-energy show night after night. Throughout 1973, Kiss performed approximately 25 dates in various clubs in and around New York City. At venues like Coventry and Queens, the Daisy in Amityville, and the Hotel Diplomat in Midtown Manhattan, Kiss stoked momentum that culminated in a New Year's Eve show at the famed Academy of Music on December 31st, 1973. This video will take a look at 3 of these venues and the history behind them. The first venue we're going to take a look at today is the Bleecker Street Loft. Located on the corner of Bleecker Street and Lafayette Street in Lower Manhattan, this was the practice place of the Brats, a local New York City band, in 1973. The Loft itself was actually located on the top floor, which is the 8th floor of the building located at 54 Bleecker Street. Kiss played 2 shows with the Brats in this location, once on May 4th, 1973, then again about a month later on June 1st, 1973. In referring to the May 4th show, Brat's guitarist Rick Rivets tells a funny anecdotal story where he said, while they did their sound check, our drummer and I were listening by the door, and as soon as they hit their first song, he and I looked at one another and said, "We're dead." It was like playing on a bill with a band like Zeppelin or Deep Purple. Everything was so tight. They had the harmonies down, they had the leads down, and the sheer volume was amazing. But you could hear everything clearly, and that was just the sound check. In regards to the show itself, Rick Rivets continues, "They started their set, and it was just flawless. People's mouths were hanging down. They didn't do any encores, and that was it. They got up and walked out. Then, we had to follow them." No photos have been uncovered from the May 4th performance, so all the Kiss photos you see in this section of the video are from the June 1st show. Paul's shirt that he decorated himself at his house has actually survived to present day. On a final note from this section, the photos I'm showing now were actually taken from a 2020 real estate listing showing how the Loft looks today. Next up is the site of the Fillmore East, located at 105 2nd Avenue on the corner of 2nd Avenue and East 6th Street in Lower Manhattan. In December of 1973, Kiss used this venue to prepare for their upcoming New Year's Eve show, and in January they would play a press event here at this closed venue. Following their 2 December shows at Coventry, which would be their final gigs as a club band, Kiss rented out the old Fillmore East venue for rehearsals preparing for their New Year's Eve gig coming up at the Academy of Music. During rehearsals, Casablanca president Neil Bogart tried again to get the band to drop the makeup, to no avail. In a compromise move, Paul agreed to switch his more androgynous design for what would be called the Bandit, in the vein of the Lone Ranger. Paul tried this new look for 3 shows in January 1974 and 1 photo shoot, but then dropped it in favor of the single star.
I was wondering if we could tweak your makeup a little, he said. What? Why? Maybe you can ditch the star and try something else? To be a good sport, I agreed to experiment with a mask, something closer to Zorro or the Lone Ranger. I just didn't understand his objections. I was proud to be the star child, and I didn't see how any of what I did had the slightest thing to do with my sexuality or my perceived sexuality.
The Fillmore East was a legendary concert hall. It operated from 1968 to 1971. It was known as the Church of Rock and Roll and hosted countless legendary rock and blues artists like Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin, The Who, B.B. King, and so many more. The venue was known for its psychedelic light shows and for promoting rock music as high art. After closing its doors permanently after June 27, 1971, the Fillmore East reopened briefly as the Village East in 1972. This lasted for another 2 years before closing its doors forever. On January 8, 1974, the band returned to the venue to perform a show which was billed as a press event, was more, according to Bill Aucoin, their manager, more of just a gathering of industry individuals who wanted to maybe promote the band. As I mentioned previously, this was one of only 3 shows for which Paul wore the Bandit makeup. Another unique note about this show is that they used a backdrop built by the road crew made out of ropes, which had a spider web effect. This is the only time that this was ever known to be used. The third and final venue we'll be looking at in this video is the Academy of Music. Located at 126 East 14th Street, this is the one venue of the 3 on this video that is no longer in existence. It was purchased by New York University and demolished in the late 1990s. The band's performance here on New Year's Eve 1973 marked a transition from club band to professional touring band as they played before 4,000 people this night.
On December 31st, 1973, we glimpsed the future. Bill somehow got us added to a New Year's Eve bill at the Academy of Music featuring Blue Oyster Cult and Iggy and the Stooges. We were 4th on the bill under a local New York band called Teenage Lust. Now I knew it was just a matter of time before we started blowing everybody away. And that night, we certainly made an impression. When we walked out on the stage in front of 4,000 people, I was stunned. It might as well have been 400,000. Not long into the set, I popped the button on my homemade pants and struggled to keep them up for the rest of the set, pressing my guitar awkwardly against my crotch to keep them from slipping down. Then Gene lit his hair on fire when he tried the fire breathing that the amazing Amazo had taught him. We were dangerous, all right, to ourselves.
Prior to this gig, manager Bill Aucoin gifted the band a 4-foot-tall lighted KISS logo to display in the air behind the band while they performed. This is the same sign they would use for the next several tours. Once again, special thanks to everybody taking photos back in the day. Bob Gruen, Rick Fox, Lydia Chris, Mark Ravitz, everybody who had a camera back then captured these moments that we can enjoy them to this day. And to the original Kiss Road crew, thanks so much for all your hard work and bringing this band into existence. Thank you for all of that. As always, thanks to everybody for watching the videos, supporting the channel, liking, subscribing, all that good stuff. And most importantly, for sharing it with other Kiss fans. And I will look forward to just seeing you in the next video.